On May 18, 1974, something big happened in the desert of Pokhara in Rajasthan. This event was not just another day in the vast arid landscape of the Thar Desert. It was a day that would be etched into the annals of history, marking a significant milestone for India and its people. Something that changed India forever. The air was filled with a sense of pride and accomplishment as the nation took a bold step forward on the global stage. The tricolour flag fluttered with newfound vigour, symbolising the dawn of a new era. India, a country still recovering from being ruled by others and trying to find its place in the world, showed everyone it was a nuclear power. This was a monumental achievement for a nation that had gained independence less than 3 decades earlier. The echoes of freedom and self-reliance resonated through the corridors of power as India asserted its sovereignty and technological prowess. This big event was called Smiling Buddha. The name itself carried a sense of irony and hope, juxtaposing the peaceful image of Buddha with the destructive power of a nuclear explosion. It was a message to the world that India was ready to embrace modernity while staying rooted in its rich cultural heritage. It wasn't just about showing off cool technology. It was a testament to the hard work and dedication of countless scientists, engineers and technicians who had toiled for years to make this dream a reality. Their efforts were a shining example of what could be achieved through perseverance and innovation. It was about showing India could stand on its own, that it had smart scientists and that it was changing its plans for the future. The successful test was a clear signal that India was ready to take control of its destiny, leveraging its intellectual capital to forge a path of progress and self-reliance. The story of India's nuclear journey is connected to its history after it became independent. From the vision of leaders like Jawaharlal Nehru, who dreamt of a self-sufficient India, to the relentless efforts of scientists who turned that vision into reality, the journey was long and arduous, but ultimately rewarding. It's a story of leaders with big ideas, hard-working scientists, and the need to keep the country safe. Homi J. Bhabha, often referred to as the father of India's nuclear program, played a pivotal role in laying the groundwork for this achievement. His foresight and leadership were instrumental in navigating the complex landscape of nuclear technology. It's a story that still affects India today and will be important for its future. The legacy of Smiling Buddha continues to influence India's strategic and scientific endeavours, shaping its policies and aspirations in the ever-evolving global arena. The world felt the shock of that desert explosion. International headlines blared the news, and the geopolitical landscape shifted as nations took note of India's newfound capabilities. It was a moment of reckoning that reverberated across continents. People started talking and worrying, and they still do today. The test sparked debates and discussions on nuclear policy, disarmament, and the ethical implications of atomic energy. These conversations continue to shape global discourse, highlighting the complexities and responsibilities that come with nuclear power. Smiling Buddha was a huge turning point, not just for India, but for everyone. It marked a shift in the balance of power and underscored the importance of diplomacy and dialogue in addressing the challenges of a nuclear world. It changed who had power, made people ask questions about nuclear weapons, and showed how complicated the world was with the good and bad sides of atomic energy. The legacy of Smiling Buddha serves as a reminder of the dual-edged nature of technological advancements, urging us to navigate the future with wisdom and caution. India didn't want nuclear power to be a bully. Instead, it envisioned a future where atomic energy would be a tool for progress and development, not destruction. This vision was deeply rooted in the ideals of Jawaharlal Nehru, India's first Prime Minister, who saw the potential of atomic energy to transform the nation. It came from a mix of hope and practicality, thanks to Jawaharlal Nehru, India's first Prime Minister. Nehru was a visionary leader who understood the importance of science and technology in building a modern nation. He believed that harnessing the power of the atom could propel India into a new era of industrial and economic growth. Nehru, who really wanted peace and no nuclear weapons, also knew atomic energy could do great things. He was a staunch advocate for global disarmament and believed that nuclear technology should be used for peaceful purposes. His speeches often emphasized the dual nature of atomic energy, its potential for both immense destruction and unparalleled progress. He thought it could help India's factories grow and help its poor people. Nehru envisioned a future where atomic energy would power industries, generate employment, and uplift the rural population. He saw it as a means to bridge the gap between the urban and rural sectors, bringing modern amenities and opportunities to the remotest corners of the country. With Nehru in charge, India started a big project to use atomic energy for good things. Under his leadership, the government laid down a comprehensive plan to develop nuclear infrastructure. This included setting up research institutions, training scientists, and collaborating with other countries to gain technical expertise. The Atomic Energy Commission started in 1948. This was a significant milestone in India's journey towards becoming a nuclear-capable nation. The Commission was tasked with overseeing all nuclear-related activities, from research and development to the construction of reactors. Then India built research reactors and trained new scientists and engineers. These reactors served as the foundation for India's nuclear program, providing valuable data and experience. The focus was on creating a pool of skilled professionals who could drive the nation's nuclear ambitions forward. Nehru's plan was simple. India would learn all about nuclear energy, not for weapons, but to help its people. He believed that knowledge was power and that by mastering nuclear technology, India could achieve self-reliance and reduce its dependence on foreign countries. Nehru wanted a new independent India, and this idea of doing things on its own was important. He saw atomic energy as a symbol of India's scientific prowess and a testament to its ability to stand on its own feet. This was a crucial aspect of his broader vision for a self-sufficient and progressive nation. He thought that a country free from being ruled by others needed to show it could handle technology on its own. Nehru's emphasis on self-reliance was not just about political independence, but also about technological and scientific autonomy. He wanted India to be a leader in innovation and a beacon of progress in the developing world. Learning about the atom wasn't just about energy, it was about showing India was smart and knew a lot, like it did hundreds of years ago. Nehru often spoke about India's rich scientific heritage, drawing parallels between ancient achievements and modern aspirations. He believed that by excelling in nuclear science, India could reclaim its historical legacy of knowledge and wisdom. But the Cold War and new dangers closer to home would soon change India's nuclear plans. The geopolitical landscape was shifting, and India had to navigate a complex web of international relations. The initial focus on peaceful uses of atomic energy began to evolve in response to emerging threats and strategic considerations. The peaceful atom, first meant to help people, would become important for national safety. As tensions rose, the dual-use nature of nuclear technology became more apparent. While Nehru's original vision was rooted in peace and development, the realities of the Cold War era necessitated a broader approach, balancing the aspirations for progress with the imperatives of national security. In the 1950s and 60s, lots of things happened that changed India's nuclear path. The world was in a state of flux, with new nations emerging and old empires crumbling. India, having gained independence in 1947, was navigating its own path in this complex global landscape. The early years of independence were marked by a focus on development and self-reliance, but the geopolitical climate soon demanded a shift in priorities. The Cold War divided the world and made countries build more and more weapons. The United States and the Soviet Union were locked in a tense standoff, each amassing vast arsenals of nuclear weapons. This arms race created a ripple effect, compelling other nations to consider their own security measures. The fear of nuclear annihilation was palpable, and the global community was on edge. And closer to home, India felt threatened by its neighbors. The geopolitical landscape in Asia was particularly volatile. China, under the leadership of Mao Zedong, was asserting its dominance in the region. The 1962 border war between India and China was a wake-up call for India, exposing its military vulnerabilities and the need for a robust defense strategy. China became an enemy, and the 1962 border war really scared India. The conflict was brief but intense, leaving a lasting impact on India's strategic thinking. The war underscored the importance of military preparedness and the potential threat posed by a nuclear-armed China. The war showed that India wasn't strong enough and made people worry about China's growing army and its nuclear weapons. The Indian government realized that it needed to bolster its defense capabilities to deter future aggression. Public sentiment also shifted, with increasing calls for a stronger military and a more assertive foreign policy. The idea of China having nuclear weapons was a big problem, and India had to think about what would happen if China tried to use them as a threat. The spectre of a nuclear-armed China loomed large, influencing India's strategic calculations. The Indian leadership grappled with the dilemma of how to ensure national security in an increasingly hostile environment. Pakistan, created when India was divided, was another problem. The partition of India in 1947 had left a legacy of bitterness and conflict. The two nations were locked in a seemingly endless cycle of hostility, with the disputed region of Kashmir at the heart of their animosity. The two countries were always fighting, and Kashmir was a big reason why. The Kashmir conflict was a flashpoint for violence, with both sides vying for control of the region. The frequent skirmishes and border clashes only served to heighten tensions and fuel the arms race between the two nations. As Pakistan tried to make its armies stronger with help from other countries, India worried about Pakistan getting more powerful. The influx of foreign aid and military assistance to Pakistan was a cause for concern in India. The Indian government closely monitored Pakistan's military developments. Aware that any imbalance in power could have serious repercussions, these problems made things hard for India's leaders. The dual threats from China and Pakistan created a complex security environment. Indian leaders had to navigate these challenges while balancing domestic priorities and international relations. India wanted peace and didn't want nuclear weapons, but it had to think about its safety. The Indian leadership was committed to the principles of peace and non-violence, but the harsh realities of geopolitics necessitated a pragmatic approach. The debate over nuclear weapons was not just about military capability, but also about national survival and sovereignty. The question wasn't if India could make nuclear weapons, but if it could survive without them. The decision to pursue a nuclear program was driven by the need to ensure national security in a world where nuclear deterrence was becoming the norm. India's journey towards becoming a nuclear power was fraught with challenges, but it was a path that the nation felt compelled to take in order to safeguard its future. The 1962 war with China made India start to worry, and the wars with Pakistan in 1965 and 1971 made India decide it needed nuclear weapons. The 1965 war, even though nobody really won, showed how easily India and Pakistan could start fighting again. The 1971 war, which created Bangladesh, was even more important. India won, but it also showed that India wasn't completely safe. Other countries like the United States, which sent its ships to help Pakistan, might get involved in fights between India and Pakistan. These events were important for Prime Minister Indira Gandhi. A strong leader, Gandhi took charge of a country facing dangers from outside and problems inside. The wars with Pakistan and China's nuclear weapons convinced her that India needed a way to protect itself. The decision to have a peaceful nuclear explosion, as they called it, was a big deal. It was a careful plan based on worries about safety, politics inside India, and wanting to show the world that India could make its own decisions.